My name is Rúnar Þór Guðbrandsson. I'm the founder of the saddle company Rúnar. And the topic today that I'm going to be talking about is saddle fitting. And I'm going to talk about saddle fitting out of my own experience and my own beliefs. Everybody has their own theory and beliefs how the saddle should work, how it should fit and so forth, but this is just how I see it based on approximately 30 years of experience working with horses, riders, saddles, equipment, and I'm just going to go through some general points, and you're free to ask questions afterwards or in between. It's very open. But if we just start going through some points, if we start by talking a little bit about the history or the heritage of the Icelandic horse. So saddle fitting is a business all over the world, and it's a business that is dealing with different species of horses, not species, but different types of horses. The Icelandic horse has been more or less a breed and isolated for about 1,000 years, and we often say that it's the same with the Icelandic horse like any other breed. It's the survival of the fittest. So the horse that we have today is a horse that has been developed through about 1,000 years and is not necessarily exactly the same build, muscle strength and so forth as another horse type on the continent. So my experience and my knowledge is based on the Icelandic horse, while saddle fitting in general is more based on working with other horse breeds. So over the years, the horses, they have been getting larger, taller. The horses used to be smaller back some decades and centuries ago. The riders, in general, I would say, were a little bit bigger. The Vikings, it was used as a means of transportation, while today we have a lot more using the horse as a pleasure horse. And the saddles used to be different. The saddles used to be bigger, heavier, longer than they are today. So that's part of what we are dealing with, changing over the years, is these developments. Today also we are keeping the horses differently than they were kept 1,000 years ago or 100 years ago. We're keeping them, we're breeding them differently, and this all affects of the ability of the horse also to be used as a riding horse and how it functions. When it comes to the anatomy of the horse, I will go a little bit more into depth of each part a little bit later. But when it comes to the anatomy of the horse, what we have to keep in mind is that the horse is without a collarbone, and the shoulders, they are linked to the body with tendons and muscles. We also have to keep in mind the movement of the shoulder blade, and when the horse is stepping forward, the shoulder blade needs to have freedom of movement. And I would show you how that is visually working. We need to keep in mind the T18th or the 18th thoracic vertebra in the spine. This is the point where we would like to have the main weight-bearing area in front of that part in the horse's body. And the lumbar joints 1 to 3, this is an area where I usually say the saddle can extend to this point, but the main weight-bearing area should be in front of this. And how to find it, I will show you in a picture later. My personal belief is that the most important thing when it comes to saddle fitting is fitting the saddle to the rider. This may be different from some beliefs of other saddle fitters. where they try to fit the saddle to the horse. I have seen so many cases of saddles on a horse where the rider is way too big for the saddle. You can't even see the saddle. It's just hidden underneath the rider, which is obvious that the saddle is not then working as a weight distributor on the horse's back. So what I always say, the number one decision factor in fitting the saddle is for the rider, because the saddle should be used as a weight distributor on the horse. Another thing to keep in mind is the position of the saddle. I will go through that a little bit more in details later. But in general, we say that we want to keep the saddle 3 fingers behind the scapula, just so we can allow the shoulder movement to be with freedom. My personal belief, as I said before, this is just based on my experience, is that for the horse to be able to perform and do what we are asking him to do, he needs to be able to carry us and himself. And in order to do that well, the horse needs to be able to step with his hind legs underneath the weight of the rider to carry us and the horse himself more easily. What we need to do also is reducing the pressure on the trapezius area, and this can be adjusted with quite many saddles. Not all saddles, but some saddles can be adjusted in the front, and I will show you that also later. When it comes to the riding, that's maybe the most important thing. So in general, there's this 80-20 rule with most things in life. It's the same with this. 80% of the problems that come up are usually put on the saddle. That the saddle is not fitting, but actually, if we dig down very deep, I would say 80% of the problem is the rider. So we need to usually just step back a little bit, see, is there something in our balance that we are doing wrong, and can we improve our balance, and can we possibly improve the balance of the horse? So we might actually have to step off the horse, train the horse, feed the horse, get the horse in a good shape, and preferably ourselves, and then maybe the problem has been, taken care of. Yeah, that's regarding the properly balanced outline of the horse. We just need to make sure that the horse is healthy. When it comes to the saddles, there are all kinds of saddles on the market. There are good saddles and there are bad saddles. But that's also a preference of each and every person, what they're looking for in the saddle, how much they're willing to spend on the saddle, and so forth. But there's a big variety of saddles on the market. So this is just some general points of what the different parts of the saddles are named. Like I said before, I'm the founder and owner of the saddle company Rúnar. So on our website, rúnar.shop, you can find a lot of general information. Most of this information is accessible there for free also. And there you can read and learn more about saddle fitting, because we actually would like to educate people to do saddle fitting by themselves. That's probably the best thing. We also have on our website something called Saddle Expert, where you can simply just fill in your information as a rider and your experience level. You can fill in information on the saddle that you're using and what is the problem, what is it with the saddle that you don't like. You put in information on the horse, and then we make recommendations of, do you need to do something, or are you just in a good shape with your saddle? But these are just some general names of parts of the saddle. We don't need to go into details of that. We have through the years worked with a lot of professional riders, and we do that repeatedly. Through the years, like I said, I've been in this business for about 30 years. I have worked with a lot of riders and veterinarians and tried to develop the best possible product to fit the horses. And we are very fortunate to get a lot of feedback and input from these riders. So when it comes to the saddle fitting, these are the points that I mentioned before that I personally want to keep in mind always. It's the scapula, and like I said before, the saddle should be placed about 3 fingers behind the scapula. And I will show you later why that is. You need to choose the correct tree size so the saddle will fit the rider. Because, like I said before, the most important thing is that the rider is in balance. If the rider is not in balance and the saddle is not fitting the rider, you're not helping the horse. The angle of the trapezius area is something that can be adjusted. So that's actually very good. Well, it can be adjusted in some saddles. It can be adjusted in our saddles, and I think quite many other saddle brands on the market, but that's good that you can actually adjust it. You can actually also then buy saddles in different kind of widths that cannot be adjusted. Some brands allow you, which do not have the exchange system, to change the width once. Because if you do it more than once, you've already made the metal, you weaken the metal, and it can break over time. And then it's the T18, and you can see it on the picture. You find the T18th by going to the last rib and following it all the way up to the spinal, and there you find the T18th point. You want the horse to have the main weight bearing in front of this point. You can see this also better in later pictures. So this is an Icelandic horse, Stjarni frá Kolkósi, in Tölt. Of course, it's a skeleton put together in a veterinary university in Hanover, Germany, but it gives you a pretty good idea of the skeleton of the horse and and where the saddle should fit. The saddle in the picture is a 17.5-inch saddle, and the way that I've placed it on the horse is that I put it behind the scapula, and it is sitting, it has the main weight bearing in front of the T18th point, but in general, like I say, it's allowed to have the saddle going as far back as the L3 point, the lumbar joint number 3. You find that actually by finding the last rib and going directly upwards. When you talk to other saddle fitters, they might say, this is absolutely not allowed. You need to have all the weight bearing and you need to have the saddle all in front of the T18. The problem is that causes other problems. Then you're usually either taking too small saddle for your riding, or you're moving the saddle too much forward. You can also see really well on this picture when the horse is moving. So this picture is the same as this one, just from it's an aerial view. Here you can see that when the horse is moving and when it's supporting in one leg, which is this one here, the shoulder blade of the other leg moves backwards to this point. So you can see this is the reason why we need to have the saddle positioned be approximately 3 fingers behind the shoulder blade when the horse is standing still. So like I said before, this is based on my personal experience of working with saddles and riders, all saddle brands and saddle fitters, they have their own experience of what is best to use and how best to position the saddle. But like I said before, my personal belief is that the number one important factor is that the saddle is fitting the rider, because that's going to be the easiest for the horse then to carry. Then the balance, it improves the balance of the rider, and that makes it easier for the horse to carry the rider. So like I said before, for any further information on saddle fitting, this is just some general points. You can go to our web shop, hrimnir.shop. We have all information on the saddles, general points. You can, like I said before, use the saddle expert, fill in your information, and we will give you guidance. We also offer saddle fitters to come to your place, both in Iceland. Well, we just recently offered this service, but also abroad. We work with saddle fitters all over the world. So you're welcome to contact us if you want more information. But do you have any questions? No questions. I have a stand at the marketing tent, the Rúnar stand. You're welcome to come there, look at the saddle collection that we have, and we could give you guidance on what we think would fit you and your horses. And then if you want to try the horses with your horse, we can either come to your place or our saddle fitters can come and meet you. Okay, thank you very much.